Spleen Qi deficiency leads to impairment of spleen functions. This is the initial stage of spleen yang deficiency. So this is the precursor of spleen yang deficiency. Cardinal symptoms: lack of appetite, sensation of fullness after meals, fatigue after meals, soft, odorless stool, diarrhea, edema, overthinking, and teeth marks on the tongue. Lack of appetite is due to the fact that the spleen function of food transformation is impaired. So the patient will not have appetite or will lack appetite. The sensation of fullness after meals is explained by the fact that there is an impairment in the spleen function of food transformation. Fatigue after meals is due to the fact that the qi production of the spleen is impaired. The pale facial complexion means that the qi is deficient and the transportation function of qi and blood to the face is impaired. Weakness of extremities, because the extremities are governed by the spleen. Spleen Qi deficiency leads to impaired transportation of qi and blood to extremities. Soft stools or chronic diarrhea with undigested food particles in the stool. This is because the spleen function of food transformation is impaired and dampness accumulates. Overthinking because of impairment of mental digestion. The edema because the spleen function of food transformation is impaired and dampness accumulates. Spleen is particularly susceptible to dampness, and this affects transportation and transformation. Impairment of spleen's function affects the transportation and transformation due to other causes, and this may easily give rise to dampness. Spleen is the source of dampness. Even if dampness manifests in other organs, spleen must be treated so that dampness won't be produced again. Being excessively focused on oneself. So all you think about is yourself. This is due to impaired mental digestion. Spleen yang deficiency. This is the further development and complication of spleen qi deficiency. Qi is part of yang. Spleen yang deficiency includes signs of spleen qi deficiency. The essential difference is additional cold signs present in spleen yang deficiency. Cardinal symptoms. Of course, this would include symptoms of spleen qi deficiency, plus undigested food particles in the stool, feeling cold, feeling chilly, cold extremities. There is also lack of appetite because of impairment of the spleen function of food transformation. Sensation of fullness after the meal because of weakened spleen function of food transformation. Fatigue after meals because of impairment of spleen qi production. Facial complexion is pale because qi is deficient and the transportation of qi and blood to the face is impaired. The extremities are weakened because extremities are governed by the spleen, and since we have spleen qi deficiency, this will lead to impaired transportation of qi and blood to the extremities. Soft stools or chronic diarrhea with undigested food particles in the stool, so the spleen function of food transformation is impaired and dampness accumulates. Undigested food particles in the stool. Spleen function of food transformation is impaired and dampness accumulates. There is stomach ache, which improves with warmth, which means that the spleen Yang functions of the transformation and warming are impaired. Feeling chilly, that means there is an impairment of the warming function of spleen yang. Cold extremities, because the warming function of spleen yang is impaired. Overthinking, because of impairment of mental digestion. Spleen function of food transformation is impaired and dampness accumulates, leading to edema. And we have mentioned earlier that the spleen is particularly susceptible to dampness, and this affects the TNT, or the transportation and transformation. Impairment of spleen's function affects transportation and transformation due to other causes, and this may easily give rise to dampness. Spleen is the source of dampness. Even if dampness manifests in other organs, the spleen must be treated so that dampness will not be produced again. And being excessively focused on oneself means there is impaired mental digestion.